You've heard it before. Maybe it was just the wind clicking against your window, a sharp, repetitive sound that cut through the silence of a house that shouldn't be making noise. Or perhaps it was the rhythmic, maddening drip of a faucet in the crushing stillness of 3 a.m. You dismissed it. You told yourself it was just the house settling. You told yourself that houses have their own language, their own habits of wood and nail, and that you were safe within these walls. But you know the truth, don't you? You know that fear isn't something that happens to you. It's something you invite in the moment you look away from the dark. You think you're safe because you live in a world of LED lights, locked doors, and digital borders. You've convinced yourself that you're the architect of your own security, but that's a lie. You're walking through the same ancient primal forest your ancestors did. The terrain hasn't changed, only the scenery. The trees are now made of steel, the paths are paved in concrete, and the predators aren't wolves. They are memories of things that shouldn't be. They are the echoes of what we have discarded in our rush to become modern. Today, we aren't just talking about a Japanese urban legend. We are talking about the sound that ends your life. We are talking about the Teke-Teke, and by the time you reach the end of this, you'll realize why you aren't running from a ghost. You're running from the missing pieces of yourself. You didn't come here for a bedtime story. You came here because deep down, you recognized the sound. We live in the era of norm sense. That's the persistent gnawing belief that because you have a smartphone in your pocket, a GPS in your car, and a security camera on your porch, you are untouchable. We have curated our lives to be predictable, sanitized, and hollow. We go to work, we scroll, we sleep, we repeat. We have built a reality where the sharp edges of life are sanded down by convenience, so we don't have to confront the reality of the void. We believe that if we simply ignore the fringes, the legends, the shadows, the strange, disjointed sounds, they stop existing. We treat reality like a browser tab we can simply close when it gets too uncomfortable. But have you noticed the hollowness in your chest lately? That creeping, unshakable feeling that despite all your safety, you are incredibly vulnerable? It's not a physical threat, it's a spiritual one. The Teke-Teke isn't just a legend about a girl cut in half by a train who drags her torso on her hands, hunting victims with a scythe. That's the cartoon version, the sanitized version designed to make it seem like a fairy tale. The real horror, the one that keeps you awake at night when the power goes out, is what she represents. She is the sudden, violent fragmentation of a life. You spend your days building a persona. You are a professional, a partner, a parent, a success story. You are whole. But look at the evidence. Look at your social media, your half-finished projects, your broken promises, the parts of your history you refuse to talk about because they are too painful to hold. You are split. You are fragmented. We walk through modern life like ghosts, present in body, but missing in soul. The Teke-Teke doesn't hunt people because she's evil. She hunts people because they are incomplete. And in this world, that makes you prey. There is a time between times, the hour after the last train leaves and before the first alarm clock rings. It is the hour of the after hours where the world you know dissolves. The convenience store lights are too bright, the streets are too empty, and the silence is thick enough to choke on. This is where she waits, not because she is trapped, but because this is where the world is thinnest. The Teke-Teke does not exist in the daylight. The daylight is too loud, too busy with your distractions. She exists in the liminal spaces, the stairwells, the back alleys, the empty corridors, and the stations where the echoes live. You feel her when you walk through these places. You feel the sudden drop in temperature. You feel the hair on your arms stand up. You feel the urge to run, not because you see anything, but because you feel the weight of a gaze that isn't human. This is the geometry of fear, and you are trapped inside it. Modern urban spaces are designed to move you from point A to point B as efficiently as possible. They are designed to strip away your humanity, turning you into a commuter, a number, a statistic. The Teke-Teke is the monster of the commute. She is the physical manifestation of the isolation that defines your generation. You are surrounded by millions of people, yet you have never been more alone. And she knows it. But let's talk about the mask you wear. You don't just live in the city, you live on the screen. And that is where the fragmentation becomes absolute. On your phone, you are a curated collection of highlights. You are a filter, a caption, a polished aesthetic. But that creates a secondary you, a ghost version of yourself that exists in the cloud. When you spend all your time tending to that ghost version, the real version of you starts to atrophy. You start to feel like you're drifting away from your own body. This is the digital severance. You are cut off from your own lived experience, separated from the ground beneath your feet by a layer of glass and fiber optics. The Teke-Teke is the monster of the digital age precisely because she is the digital age. She is the sound of the disconnect. Every time you scroll past something that makes you feel uneasy, you are ignoring the scraping sound behind your own ears. You are training yourself to be numb, and the Teke-Teke feeds on that numbness. She feeds on the space between who you are and who you pretend to be. She is the reminder that you cannot stay split forever. Eventually, the two halves have to meet, and that meeting is never gentle. Why do you freeze when you hear that sound? Why does your heart hammer against your ribs, not because of a monster, but because of a sound? To understand the Teke-Teke, we have to stop looking at her as a spirit and start looking at her as a biological trigger. This is the biological bridge. Your brain is hardwired for the Uncanny Valley. That visceral, sickening revulsion you feel when something looks human, but is off. Evolutionary psychology tells us that your fear of the Teke-Teke is an ancient hardwired survival mechanism. Your ancestors didn't survive by being curious. They survived by being terrified of the wrong. When you see something that is only half a body, your brain's amygdala hijacks your rational mind. It doesn't process ghost. It processes threat to structural integrity. Your biology screams that there is a breakdown in the system. You are hardwired to fear the fragmentation of the human form because, on a primal level, you understand that if you can be split, you can be erased. The Teke-Teke isn't just a legend. She is the physical embodiment of a cortisol spike. She is your body's way of warning you that the world is more fragile than you dare to admit. She is the noise that interrupts the signal of your safety. Your brain is trying to tell you that you are not as solid as you think, and the terror you feel is the recognition that the monster is already inside your head, waiting to be unleashed. We must go deeper. There is the efficiency paradox. You are obsessed with optimization. You want to be faster, leaner, more productive, more whole. But the more you optimize, the more you shed the parts of yourself that don't fit into the machine. You cut away your emotions to be professional, your downtime to be productive, your secrets to be social. You are doing to yourself exactly what the train did to the girl. You are self-amputating. You are becoming the Teke-Teke. What is the sound she makes? It is the sound of mechanical, repetitive, grinding movement. Te-ke, 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 te-ke. It is the sound of a person who has lost their natural rhythm and replaced it with a forced, artificial one. The legend says she moves with the sound of her elbows hitting the concrete. It's a rhythmic, mechanical sound, like a ticking clock. Time is what you fear most. You're racing against the clock every single day. And here comes a creature that is the sound of the clock. Te-ke, 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 te-ke. In the stories, if you see her, you have seconds to escape. If you don't, you become like her. The Teke-Teke represents the ultimate loss of control. In your daily life, you fight for control, but the legend reminds you that a single train, a single catastrophic event, can strip you of your mobility. She isn't coming to kill your body. She's coming to mirror your reality, showing you what happens when you stop fighting to be whole. You are not running from a monster. You are running from the parts of you that you didn't have the courage to keep alive. Your regret moves faster than your ambition. Now we perform the test. If you are brave enough, go into a dark room, turn off all the lights, sit on the floor in the silence. Don't look at your phone, just sit and wait. Listen for the sound inside. Listen to the rhythm of your own heart. The fear you feel in that silence, that is the Teke-Teke. She isn't a monster hiding under the bed. She is the feeling of sitting in the dark with yourself and realizing you have nothing left to distract you. If you can sit there without reaching for a screen, you have faced the fragmentation. So, how do you escape? You stop running. That's the secret. Trying to outrun her is an exercise in futility. It's the same way you handle your anxiety. You keep running from the uncomfortable truths, hoping that if you move fast enough, they won't catch up. But the only way to face the Teke-Teke is to stop the motion. You have to acknowledge the missing piece in your own life. When you stop running, when you stop pretending that you are perfectly whole and instead own the parts of you that are broken, that are hurt, that are severed, the creature loses its power. You are not the victim of the legend. You are the architect of your own wholeness. You have to stand still and let the sound approach and realize that it isn't an external monster. It is the beat of your own heart asking for integration. The healing is sharper than the cutting, but it is the only way to heal. But here is the truth that the books won't tell you. Even if you find your wholeness, even if you stop running, the sound doesn't disappear. It just gets quieter. It lives in the back of your mind, a permanent reminder that the train is always coming, that the platforms are always dark. You can make peace with your shadows, but you can never destroy them. They are part of the architecture of being human. You are a creature of light and shadow, of wholeness and fragmentation. The sound is just the friction of your existence. It is the reminder that you are alive and that life is a violent, beautiful, temporary thing. You are not a static object. You are a process. You are a constant reconstruction of the self. And as you walk home tonight, in the silence of your hallway, when you hear that faint, rhythmic scraping, don't turn around. Don't run. Don't give in to the panic. Just realize that it isn't her. It's just your own heartbeat, sounding an awful lot like the end of everything. But it's also the sound of your beginning. It's the sound of the blood rushing through your veins, the sound of your lungs expanding, the sound of your own defiance against the dark. Accept the rhythm, own the sound, and keep walking. Because you are still here. And that, in itself, is the only ghost story that matters. Teke-Teke.